It's hard to believe. Good morning, everybody. My name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police constable with the Toronto Police Service here in Ontario, Canada. And it is a nice day, although I'm not outside. I'm joined by Sergeant Warren Stein. He's the training sergeant here at Traffic Services. And of course, my partner, Brandon, who is the magical man who does so much here. And he's back from vacation. It's his first week back. We've made it miserable because he's not skydiving. Well, you didn't get to skydive over your vacation either.
No, the weather was a little inclement. Apparently, you can't even jump with heavy cloud cover. I thought it'd be exciting. You know what I mean? Like, don't see anything, and then suddenly drop through the clouds. No, apparently not.
It may have made it a little too exciting. So we've got lots of fun in store. We're going to talk about traffic safety stuff as per usual. And before we go there, we're going to talk about the Vision Zero enforcement team. Brandon, where are they today?
So today, Vision Zero is going to be in the 53 division as well as 52 division. So folks who view us regularly know that you can go to torontopolice.ca/divisions/map, and you'll get this map here. And this map can show you the boundaries of the city and then the boundaries of each division. So we've pulled up 52 division already. You can scroll through here and you can find yourself the divisional boundaries, and as well as there is a more definite map on the right hand side, and then the same information for 53 division. Specific boundaries, as well as a map that will show you exactly where your neighborhood is, and that's where the Vision Zero officers are going to be today. So look out for them, maybe wave and say hi, and don't get pulled over because you're not speeding or breaking the law, because you're watching us here, so you know better.
That's it. And there's somebody we put this out on Twitter yesterday, but there was a gentleman, I assume it was a gentleman, it was a gentle person, who was stopped for speeding by a Vision Zero enforcement team member. They were doing, I think, 78 in a 50. What was funny is that it's the third time they got to meet a Vision Zero enforcement team member in the last little while. They've only been around for a little while, and they've met them 3 times, 3 tickets. They have a problem with speeding, and that's a lot of people. I want to draw attention to the fact that we have a chat. It's live, and you can come and answer. You can't answer. We answer your questions when you ask them there. And we have as one tweet that went out yesterday from one of our esteemed sergeant friends from downstairs said, we got these big minds here, so that we are now expected to have answers to things. Good morning, Emma. Good morning, Amanda. QQ is in the room. Tassos. We're all here. So we're also on Twitch, by the way. We're trying Twitch out. So not only are we on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, but we are actually streaming on Twitch right now. So if there's any gamers out there, say hello. I'm going to test this right now. Hello. Did it work? Hey, it worked. VoiceOver Cop says hello. That's me. Okay. So we've been chatting about what we wanted to talk about. There's lots going on. I mean, we've had developments. We talked before Moms Act came in. We talked about what was going to be happening as of July 1st, and the fact that speeding at lower speeds now can trigger a stunt driving charge depending on what the speed limit is in the area that you're traveling. There are other things that are coming into play, and we've had a bunch of people who have triggered that and have already found that 40 over will now trigger stunt. But we were talking about pedestrian safety this morning when we got in, and where does the responsibility lie? How do we all cooperatively work? And what is the concept behind right of way? And so why don't you just jump into things and talk about it? Right now, there is a strong belief that cars are responsible for things, and as you get bigger on the pyramid of weight, you become more responsible. So that makes sense to some degree.
No, it certainly does. I just see actually one of the comments there. They were asking what other jurisdictions do. Toronto, obviously, we are Vision Zero city. What do other jurisdictions do, and do they have Vision Zero? And the answer to that is they do things that are very similar. They may not call it Vision Zero, but they have other traffic safety initiatives. And the goal for any one of these initiatives is to take care of the most vulnerable road users. So Toronto, we call it Vision Zero, and we're looking at pedestrians, cyclists, motorcyclists, and obviously we're going to discuss some pedestrian safety today, and right of way. And you talk about right of way a lot on your different programs, and it's not something that's just given. It's not something that. You assume when you step off the curb that someone's going to stop for you. That hey, I'm a pedestrian. I can just walk out into the middle of the street and everyone will kind of go around me or stop for me. And that's not necessarily the case. We have a lot of courteous drivers who will do that, but you can't make any assumptions as a road user. You just
I,
can't step out in front and hope that
Well,
someone stops.
you're relying on somebody else being switched on. And knowing what I know about drivers and the ones that I've stopped to issue them tickets for cell phone offenses, they're not all paying attention. And if you're gonna gamble your life with the fact that they paid attention and saw you, you're playing a losing game. It's not a good way to go. You may be right, but you may also get injured. And we want to make sure that everyone treats the roads in a more cooperative approach. It is a shared space. We all have to get along, and we also want to make sure that we're looking out for number one. And I mean that from a safety perspective, not getting to where you're going faster perspective. And it's a very different way to look at things. When I'm walking, I'm paying attention. Can I see the other driver? Do they see me? And you touched on it. It's something that Scott Marshall keeps saying. Scott, if you're watching, thank you for giving it to us because we're using it. And that is right of way is given, not taken. I can't force you to give me the right of way. I can walk out and you can hit me, or I can walk out and you can avoid me. But that's, again, risk and taking my chances. But I can choose to look at you, acknowledge that you're there, and know that you're not going to see me. I'm going to wait till you go by. And then when it's safe, I'm going to take my opportunity. And it's more responsibility, but it's a powerful position. You can either take control of what you do, or you can hope that other people take care of you. And I don't know which one I know which one I feel comfortable with. I want to be in control.
Yeah, and you actually touched on something a little earlier with distracted driving, and our Vision Zero enforcement team yesterday wrote 33 distracted driving tickets. And remember, they're just a small team, and some of them are focusing on speed, some of them are focusing on aggressive driving, and others on distracted driving. So not all 16 officers are focused on distracted driving all the time, but they're certainly looking out for it. So it just shows you how I would say rampant it is, where the phone is just the extension of your hand now, and people are so attached to it that that's where their primary attention is drawn to, not what's out there, what's out beyond the windshield, and you crossing the road. You're taking that chance. So we are certainly not blaming anyone for any collisions or anything like that. We certainly don't blame a pedestrian for getting struck.
No.
Everyone has a responsibility, right? The pedestrian has a responsibility when they step off the curb to make sure they can do so safely. A driver has a huge responsibility because they are operating this 3,000-pound vehicle, and it's going to hurt someone if they make a mistake and strike a pedestrian or cyclist.
And that's why, sorry to cut you off. That's why we focus our enforcement efforts on drivers. We don't go and write tickets to the people who are crossing the street, and even if they're responsible. I mean, it's not our focus because we're looking at the big offenders, the ones that are going to be doing the damage. That's not to say that pedestrians don't make mistakes or have poor choices. It happens all the time, but everyone has a part to play, and we focus on the ones that can do the most damage. And that sometimes gets people upset because drivers go, well, why are you looking at me? Why is it always my fault? Well, you have some responsibility here driving that big steel contraption. But at the same time, that's not to exonerate the actions of others. We all have to work together. And I like to talk about the fact that when we see the most issues on the road, when I think it's selfishness kicks in, when I'm more important than everybody else because I'm late, or I have a phone call, or I have want to go out and have a good time, and that tends to be the connection to poor choices or selfish driving, which could lead to dangerous driving.
And I totally agree with you there. And I mean, we are road users ourselves, and obviously when we're off duty, it's a little different. And what we see off duty and on duty are basically the same, right? And thank goodness the majority of drivers are respectful, respect other drivers, are very cooperative drivers. But you have those very selfish, irresponsible drivers who drive recklessly, who create a lot of issues for everyone else on the road. So, like I say, thank goodness we have the majority of responsible drivers.
Well, if we didn't, we wouldn't get anywhere. We'd have collisions at every corner. The fact that we're able to drive and have and not have horrendous numbers is because the average person is actually doing their thing. They're focused on the task at hand, their job of driving safely, and we appreciate you if you're one of them. But if you're somebody who's taking a tweet or a text and putting the value of that decision or that moment above the safety of others, well, we got a problem with that, and that's why we come after and ticket you. And we talk about, and I get this all the time when we talk about issuing tickets, especially on TikTok. People go, money grab, cash grab. Do you think we're making money at this?
We don't we certainly don't see a penny of that, and a lot of money. And when we look about a set fine and a total payable, right? There's kind of a portion in between that, which is a victim fine surcharge, and all that money goes into victims of essentially collisions, right? This money is put aside. It's collected by city or the province, depends where you live, and that money goes towards taking care of victims of road crime, and it is crime. It's provincial crime, so. Uh, Money is not coming to us. That's where you're going. It's
Well,
not a cash grab, right?
not just us, but they have expenses. There are courtrooms, judges, JPs, prosecutors, the lights, the power, the electricity, the internet. This isn't a freebie for the government. They got bills too. So by the time it's all done and people go through the circuit of challenging these things, there's a lot of bills to pay, and I don't know if there's a lot left over at the end. And there's a lot of people who don't pay them at all, and then it's a whole other situation. So. Here's something from Tassos. Actually, we'll come back to that one because there's something I wanted to get to first. So the concept of why we issue tickets, and I've said this before, so I may be repeating myself, is to change behavior. It doesn't feel good to get a ticket. We acknowledge that. It's not supposed to. The idea is to give you a feeling that doesn't feel good, so you don't want to go there again. It's not to make money because that doesn't change behavior. Doesn't keep people safe. The end goal is change behavior.
Right, and there's a few ways that we go about it, right? So one is through enforcement, and that's hits you in the pocketbook, and you hopefully remember the next time you're doing it. And the other thing is what you're doing, Sean, on social media. A lot of the videos that you play, a lot of the discussions that you have, going up to speak to our friends in the military, and proper ways to drive and things to think about. That's the other way, because just like anyone else there, everyone learns a little differently. Some people learn visually, some people learn by reading, doing it themselves. I'm certainly learn by action. I have to do things myself and make my own mistakes to learn how to do it properly. So we try different techniques and different styles to hopefully get the same message across through different formats and different platforms.
But
So
what we developed here is a discussion instead of the old days where we put up a poster and says, thou shall not, and you shall not, and you must do this or else. Here we're trying to do it a little differently. We want to have this open discussion and dialogue where we try and explain what we're seeing, the experiences we have, so that you can buy into it and it can be your decision, not just because we told you so, maybe because you want to avoid a ticket, but at the end of the day, that it's something you believe in. So that when you're part of our team, that you're selling it to your friends too, right? Like it's what is it? Sell it, don't tell it. Here's something from Amanda. Says, I was taught you may have the right of way, but you don't have the right of weight. I've never heard that one.
I've heard some similar things. Someone that I've been out on a boat with, and when you're out on the boat, there's tons of rules. With sailboats have a right of way and on a certain tack and all these things. And the person that I've been with, he goes, well, there's a lot of sailboats out there that have the right of way, however, they're at the bottom of the ocean. So we've spoken about that too, right?
I'm not going on any boats now. I don't.
No.
You've not sold me on boating. Yeah. So, by the way, but you mentioned social media. We recently, actually yesterday, hit 137,000 followers on TikTok. That's huge for us. That's really. I never thought we'd go there, and we're still growing. Going back to Tassos, so he had a question about pedestrians crossing, and this goes into randomly. Thank you for choosing this, Tassos, as a question, because we were talking about it before we came on, and it's do you have to wait for the pedestrian to cross fully off the crosswalk at the lights, or is that only at pedestrian stop walk crosses? And we got some terminology that we can throw in because there's crosswalks and there's PXOs or pedestrian crossovers, and they have different rules. And then there's an additional of what happens when there's somebody present who has a stop sign and calls themselves a crossing guard. So let's talk about that.
Okay, so let's get definitions out of the way. So pedestrian crossover, those are essentially, and the best way I look at it is something that's not at a controlled intersection, right? These are kind of these mid-block controls that have the painted lines, the zebra lines across the road, and they have the overhead lights with the X's. We call them PXOs, or pedestrian crossovers, and that's designed purely and strictly for pedestrians to come to that particular location, activate the lights, and should be able to cross safely from one side of the street to the other. Now, any vehicle approaching a pedestrian crossover, which is what I just described, you have to wait for that pedestrian to go from the one side of the street, so from essentially curb to curb. They have to completely cross that stretch of roadway before you can proceed. As well as if you've got multiple lanes, let's say you got a 4-lane highway, 2 lanes northbound, 2 lanes southbound, cars are not allowed to pass other motor vehicles within 30 meters of that pedestrian crossover,
Wow.
and have to stop and have to wait for those pedestrians to cross from one side to the other.
I was just going to look it up while you were describing that. Do you know offhand what the charge is, what the fine is?
Well, it depends what it is. There's a couple. There's approaching, there's passing, but I believe it's $325 now
Oh, wow.
for that. They did up that, and once again, a lot of changes in legislation to protect pedestrians, and that's what we do. And so you make the fines a little bit more punitive in nature, so that hopefully you remember the next time.
So fail to stop at crossover is 365 and 4 points from the looks of it.
Yep.
That's amazing. And there's a lot of confusion around these because some people think they're crosswalks, and as soon as you cross that half of the road, you're good to go. And that's true for crosswalks, but not for crossovers, and certainly not when a crossing guard is on scene taking care of the controlled intersection or the crossover or crosswalk. So it changes. It's not so simple as wait till they're out of your way. But driving around myself, I see people honking at cars who are diligently waiting for the pedestrian to cross, or hammering the gas to go around. And I've had the pleasure of ticketing a few of these drivers in years gone by and explaining the rules. But the idea is to have you avoid getting a ticket by explaining what it is ahead of time, because tickets are only necessary if you didn't know what was going on or you chose actively to not wait or do.
Right. So crosswalks, you mentioned that. What is a crosswalk? So controlled intersection. For example, at a traffic light, you have your pedestrian signals that say give you the walk and the don't walk signal. Those within the designated area of that intersection, pedestrians cross. So those are crosswalks. Now, most pedestrians don't realize it, and something that they're obligated to do. We have countdown timers at these intersections. The second that countdown timer switches from walk to the don't walk flashing, and the countdown timer begins, the obligation on the pedestrian is to remain on the side that you are. You are not supposed to enter into that intersection and attempt to cross.
You mean it doesn't mean I can run quickly because I have 15 seconds?
Right. You cannot. The Highway Traffic Act is very explicit and says that. Is that what happens in practice? Obviously, no. That's not what we see every day, and depends how fast you are. Well, depends how much you drive. Can I make it in 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds?
But people do. And once I'm in there, it's safe, right? If I'm in there before it counts down, I'm safe. You have to wait for me because you can't just drive through me. And I've had these people make comments, or people make comments of that nature saying, well, what are you going to do? I'm there. The theory behind the countdown timer is to give people a reasonable expectation as to how long they have to get out, especially people who are elderly, who may take longer, who have limitations with their physical abilities, and may take longer. So if you go to an area near a retirement home, you may see countdown timers that count longer. It's not to give you more time to cross. It's to give people in the intersection more time to get out. So very different perspective. It's still, if you haven't entered it, you don't enter it. And if we did this, we would find traffic would flow a lot better.
And it is. I mean, the city engineers look at all these intersections and try to see how they have to manage combination of everything, right? So once again, everyone shares the responsibility at these intersections, and a lot of it's developed from the downtown core and then goes out to the surrounding neighborhoods. But within the downtown core, they design a certain amount of time for the pedestrians to cross. Then they need to get the turning vehicles in and out of those intersections, and then change to the other direction. So it's all designed to maximize the flow of those particular intersections. So the moment you have one element of that choosing not to be cooperative, it certainly affects the way traffic flows in the downtown core.
And I just called out pedestrians for not paying attention or entering when the countdown timer's there, but it's the same thing for vehicles. We were talking again about this earlier in one of our conversations because we have them all the time. But there's intersections where cars, they're in a hurry, they want to go, they stack the intersection into the center. They aren't able to go anywhere. They aren't able to cross the line and clear the intersection before their light changes. They get stuck. They're failing to clear an intersection. They're eligible for a ticket. And again, they contribute to traffic everywhere. If you have nowhere to go, don't go. And if the light is changing, yellow lights mean stop, not sneak in. So there's a lot of confusion about simple rules. Just a message, because I reset the chat. The safe driver Scott Marshall jumped in. He says his ears were burning as we were talking about all his lingo. And just to catch us up, we got Avery with a good morning. Quixotic Queen with a emoji. And I don't know which one was that, angry, happy, or both. And Amanda wants to say that, and please make sure there isn't a pedestrian coming from the other side. And Joyce, who's been here before, I recognize Joyce. Are you still implementing the point before you cross method for crosswalks? That's a good question. When I was a kid, that's what I was always trained. You stand there, you stick your finger out into the intersection, you wait till cars stop. You're signaling the fact that you want to cross, and you wait.
Yeah, you know what? And that's, I say that's a smart thing to do. And the reason why it is smart to do, and we certainly don't do the training. We don't train pedestrians how to use it. But what you're doing when you are a pedestrian and you are being very interactive, and it's not but just pointing doesn't just give you doesn't just give you the right of way and you can just start walking. You as a pedestrian, when you are at these crossovers, have to activate the lights, and you cannot step off that curb until it's safe to do so. So if you see a car coming at a high rate of speed, the lights are not magically going to stop that car. So once again, make eye contact with those drivers. Make sure they're slowing down. Point to the direction you want to walk. And then when it's safe to do so, step off the curb and cross the roadway. These are all, once again, cooperative. We call them cooperative driving, but cooperative pedestrian things to do as well. And it's purely for the safety of everyone.
And, you make a very good point. You talk about making eye contact. It's not always possible. Some people are tinting windows. They're not supposed to, but they do it anyway, and you can't see inside the car.
Not front windows, right?
Yeah, people do it. They're not supposed to.
You told them they can't. I think I've heard you say it. No,
I may have said no
many times.
But
Yeah.
there are many people who disagree or choose to do it anyway, and sometimes it's just too dark. You can't make eye contact, so you have to make your best option. And some people aren't able to see at all. They're in a situation where they're relying on sound to make decisions.
Sure.
There's a lot of different dynamics, but the best scenario, if you can, is get that visual confirmation. I want to see them, because that's a great way to know if they're staring at their crotch. There's something going on that's more interesting than driving, and it's likely a telephone in their hands. Because what else could it be? It's important. You want to use all of your available things to keep you safe, because nobody else is going to do it for you. Let's see here. There were a couple of other things. Amanda wanted to know, she's apparently shocked that she's not supposed to race the timer when she's crossing the street. If you wait till it goes counting down while you're in it, you could use it as a heart rate exercise thing to race out of it once you're already in.
Well, maybe the fitness pin test. It's a timed event. It's back and forth across the intersection. No, you are not supposed to step off the curb once that countdown timer starts. And so to allow those vehicles that are approaching to make their turns, you want to keep the intersection clear at that point, clear those turning vehicles, and then it'll cycle through. People don't realize how fast some of these cycles actually circulate throughout the city. And some of the training that I do, I've trained the traffic control agents, so the City of Toronto traffic control agents, and we've gone out to various intersections, and we've physically timed how fast these lights cycle, and you're looking at an average of 30 to 45 seconds, and it cycles back, and which is extremely quick, but it feels like a lifetime when you're sitting there waiting for it to.
When you
Now,
got places to go.
we do have now. That's not to say it's every intersection, and the timing of each intersection and at different times of day will be changed depending on the flow of traffic, morning rush hour, afternoon rush hour. Um, is heavy pedestrian traffic throughout the day. All these things totally affect the way that the city programs each intersection, and each intersection interacts with obviously other intersections around there. So a lot does change, and don't assume what you see in the morning is the same in the afternoon.
Things change, and when things break in one area, and I mean break by way of misuse, not break because of technical issues, it cascades. It creates things everywhere. It echoes, or butterfly effect, however you want to address it. Tasso says, what about those walking off the streetcars since they do frequent stops from inside lane? I don't recall seeing the overhead signs at those spots. I know that happens. There's a lot of text. Where I thought you were going originally was, all right, when someone steps onto the street anticipating the arrival of a streetcar, they're not supposed to. You're not supposed to step onto the street until a streetcar comes to a complete stop, opens its doors, and allows for you to safely enter the roadway. So there's actually an offense if you step onto the roadway to get onto a streetcar prior to the streetcar arriving. But I thought that's where you're going. And if you did mean to go there, then I'm glad I got it right. And if you went somewhere else, I'm not apologizing. So, and of course, Scott wants to mention that we have to work as a team, and that's not just us on the screen here. All of us, all road users, have to work cooperatively. It's all about getting to where we have to go safely. In policing, we refer to guaranteed arrival, getting where you have to go safely, and not incurring any issues where other either emergency responders or people have to get involved. And there's, again, cascading effects. One bad thing happens, you get into a collision, never mind what happens to you, it shuts down so much of the city and delays everybody else. But as we talk about on our other shows, and especially when we talk about things with Scott, planning ahead takes the stress out of all this. If you just leave a little earlier, it really does make a difference, because then the rush, the urgency to get into that intersection because you're going to be late doesn't then fall over and spill into everybody else's stuff. Jumping in here. Apparently you sneezed earlier because QQ said, "Bless you, Brandon." And let's go into here. Good morning. Oh, we got okay. So I want to ask you, Brandon, when you were going to school, because when I went to school, I had Elmer the safety elephant, I had Blinky the Toronto police car come to my school. How did you learn? Because you are significantly younger than I am, or we are.
I had the advantage of being schooled in Canada as well as in the United States, and to be honest, it was better education in the United States in terms of vehicle safety. They even became a situation where you could volunteer to be a crossing guard, but it didn't matter. You had to go through the crossing guard training regardless, and that's where I learned a lot of my road safety information when I was living in Omaha, Nebraska. And
I did not know that you got your law enforcement career started as a crossing guard.
That's right.
You learn something new every day. Yeah. And Tassos making reference to Scott's recent TikTok, because Scott has entered the world of TikTok. He's the safe driver on Twitter, on TikTok, everywhere. And he recently did a white painted line video, which you should definitely check out. you should follow him and you should follow us. Are you on TikTok? You should be watching us there. Let's see here. We've got lots of stuff going on, and I'm going to turn off the chat because we got to hit a couple of things. We are talking, and tomorrow we'll be talking about noise, specifically loud motorcycles and loud cars, and we're going to be hearing from the mayor of Toronto. He's going to be coming to our location at some time during the day, and he's going to be addressing some new initiatives. So that's very exciting. So tune in tomorrow. Be on the lookout for a pop-up from us, because we'll be sharing it on social media when it happens. And our boss is going to be talking about it. So that's cool. A lot of folks were upset about noise. A lot of folks who like noise. that these are things we're going to talk about in tomorrow, and tune in, because I think this is going to be an interesting conversation. We'll be on at 10:15 at our regular time here, and we'll talk about it with Scott. And is along with other things that are safety related, but noise is something that we've never talked about with Scott, so we should talk about it. And we didn't talk about it with you, Sarge. We should have talked about it with you. So maybe we'll talk more about it next week, because there's never a shortage of topics to talk about. Now, the things that we do want to talk about is where to follow us. Because we've hit that time where we want to let you know that we're available on Twitter, and we announce things like where our Vision Zero enforcement team are going to be focusing their efforts that day, and it's going to be on Twitter, where you see it first. 7:00 we post it. You don't have to wait till 10:00 to find out where they're going to be, and you want to know that because you want to avoid meeting any of them. Not because you avoid where they are, but because you're not going to be violating any of the rules, right? And then, of course, we are also on Instagram, where you can get our content. Also, that information for where Vision Zero is, but other stuff too. So you can get us at Vision Zero. No, not Vision Zero. Traffic Services Toronto. We're also on YouTube, where many of you are watching this. You can get us there at Traffic Services Toronto Police, Facebook at Traffic Services, and ultimately on TikTok at Traffic Services. So, so many options, so many places. TikTok's where it's really. I was going to use some kind of hip slang thing. No, I can't. That's where we spend a lot of our time. We have some great content there. I'm a little biased, and 137,000 followers. We would love to have you as one of them. Come on down and check us out. If you don't have the app, it's free, and you can watch it from the comfort of your own home. Anything you want to throw into the mix, Brandon or Sarge?
Nothing on my end. I think it was yet another fantastic discussion where we decide that basically there's a lot to talk about, and there's a lot more to talk about. So we're going to get some more Sergeant back here.
Good.
Yeah, and like you say, we'll have more to talk about noise next week, because the city approaches it from one angle, we take the other angle, and we hopefully appease a lot of people. But definitely, there's a lot of behavior that's associated with creating the noise that certainly a concern to us, and that's kind of the angle that we're taking. But like you say, another half hour conversation.
Why did we talk about pedestrian safety when we could have talked about noise? I don't know. There's a whole bunch of stuff there. It's a problem. It's a problem that the citizens of Toronto and communities everywhere are voicing out about, because it's not just a Toronto issue. Everywhere, they're having an issue with people who are creating excessive noise and disturbing the enjoyment, the quiet enjoyment of people's property. So yeah, we'll get into that maybe next Wednesday, unless we have you back before then, because today's Wednesday, right? Warren Wednesdays.
Today's Wednesday. Yep.
It is your day officially. And
when I'm not on leave.
When you're not on leave. Then there's those other people who come in. Now we have to find a new home, a new day for Aaron, because Aaron Urquhart filled in for you while you were away. So
we can share.
Yeah, okay, we'll make it work. Listen, it's been a slice. Thank you so much. We will see you tomorrow, 10:15, same bat time, same bat channel.